Okay, hello. We are live. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Just in my case.
Yes. And this is the Global Brain Project Hangout. My name is Peter Liu, and I'm here with David Russell, the host of and founder of the Global Brain Project. Um, the Global Brain Project happens every Saturday,
The
11 and
meditation event happens every
11 and
Saturday.
11 and 5:30 p.m. UK time, Eastern Standard Time. It happens at 6 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. And we host this Global Brain Project Hangout every Friday, 11:45 UK time, 6:45 Eastern Standard Time, to elaborate a bit on the Global Brain Project and its ramifications and attendant philosophies that inform it. So my name is Peter Liu. I live in Brooklyn, New York. Just a quick little bit about me. I met David Russell online. I found out about the Global Brain Project. It was something that had been fascinating me. The concept of it had been intriguing me for some time prior to that, and so I went out to find what the possible, what's out there in terms of creating that, and came across the Global Brain Project. And I've been a somebody who's practiced meditation for over 20 years, and I also am a social activist. So the two together really seem to come together through this amazing project that's helped by Facebook, and we'll talk about all of this tonight.
Right.
So let me introduce David Russell, the founder of the Global Brain Project. David, are you there?
I'm here, yes. Hi, everybody. As Peter said, I founded the Global Brain Project. Before I start to talk about other things, let me talk a little about what the Global Brain Project is about. The Global Brain Project comes out of George Lovelock's, is it George? I'm not sure. Lovelock's?
James.
James Lovelock's, thank you. James Lovelock's theory of Gaia. Gaia says that the globe is comprised of systems that replicate the systems that run the human body. If that is the case, the world must have a brain. And over many years, I worked out that if the world does have a brain, we must be the neurons within that brain. And Facebook gives us the opportunity for those neurons to replicate real brain activity. In the human brain, a neuron connects over a vast distance with another neuron instantaneously. And that is exactly how we communicate as individuals on Facebook. We communicate with each other instantaneously over any distance. And the Global Brain Project is designed to activate those neurons. On the website, my website, which if you haven't visited it, you really should visit, and there will be a link somewhere around on Facebook for you to log on to it. On my website, I have a database to which people sign up and acknowledge their role as neurons. If you acknowledge that you are a neuron, you become a neuron. You are a neuron. I mean, you might be a neuron anyway, but acknowledging it adds immense power to what we're doing to the global brain. And it's evident that brains work best when they are producing coherent thought. Every Saturday, as Peter said, we have meditation events where a whole load of people come together, meditate at the same time, and produce a very high level of coherence within the global brain. That coherence radiates out, creates exceptionally good vibes throughout the cosmos, and has a big effect on the way the world operates. It's very hard to quantify that effect, but we're working on that. And that is the global brain. Is there anything else I should say about that, Peter?
Yeah. Well, maybe you could talk a little bit about the kinds of effects of coherent um, brain activity, both individually but also in this global brain project. How do we know that?
Individually, right. One of the there's been a lot of research into coherence. As individuals, coherent thought makes us more creative, more productive, more energetic, more focused. It makes our relationships run better. It has a fundamental effect on how we function as individuals. Collectively, there is a thing called the Maharishi effect. When Maharishi is now dead, but when he was alive, he used to organize large group meditations within particular cities. He did one in Washington, D.C., for example, with 3,000 people meditating together at the same times over a weekend. Over that weekend, crime decreased, emergency call-outs decreased, street violence decreased, the stock market went up. It had an amazing effect, and he did this again and again and again in different cities. Unfortunately, nobody took any notice, but we are now taking notice, and we are trying to utilize the Maharishi effect on a global basis. We have people who participate in these events throughout the world, and it only needs a certain number of people to create a very dramatic effect. Just 800 people, which is the square root, of 0.1% of the global population, is enough to produce a coherent effect that should be registerable. And what we are doing is monitored by the Global Consciousness Project, which monitors consciousness globally. There's a big surprise. And it does this by, it has machines, I believe 65 machines or 72 machines, continually producing binary, ones and zeros, on a random basis. Every now and again, those ones and zeros become coherent. You get strings of ones or strings of zeros, and that seems to reflect a coherence in global consciousness. This was first measured when Princess Diana died. The whole world sympathized with that event. The whole world was focused on that event. In England, which is where I come from, it had an amazing effect on people. For the week after Diana's death, everybody was just so nice to each other. It was breathtaking, quite frankly. And when I couldn't work out what was happening. And quite simply, it was just the coherence of what we were all feeling. If we can get 800 people together, I think that we will register an effect with the Global Consciousness Project. We're quite a long way from that yet, but we're getting there. Mm-hmm. Anything else, Peter, that I need to
Yeah, well, I just want to mention to the viewers that at the later on we will be taking questions. So if you'd like to post a question, you can. You can post it on the Global Brain Project Hangout page, the event page, or you might be able to do it through YouTube. There could be a Q&A bar. I don't know. We're trying this out. But if you don't see the on YouTube itself a Q&A section, then go to the our event page, post a question, and we'll do our best to go into your query.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we're going to actually answer it. It just means we're going to try and answer
We're
it.
going to go into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any answers. Probably more questions that will come up after that. So,
Yes, yes, indeed.
um,
So,
but
last,
yeah, about the just one more thing about the Global Brain Project. You mentioned that neurons communicate with each other instantly across stretches of space and time, and how that seems to really bring into like quantum physics, and so this is an interesting phenomenon of meditation and quantum physics, sort of manifesting. Um,
quantum physics is very interesting because the main effect of quantum physics is it's validating ancient precepts, spiritual precepts that have not been, it's not been possible to validate before. On the website, I have a long article that talks about the effects of quantum physics and what quantum physics has demonstrated in spiritual terms. Well worth reading. It's quite a long article, but it is well worth reading. Trust me, and it's not at all heavy. I write stuff for people to understand, not to confuse them, not to make myself look good. I want people to read and understand. That's what writing is about, communication.
yeah,
Quantum physics has an amazing effect. It is absolutely amazing, and you will find this article breathtaking. At least I think you'll find it breathtaking.
yeah,
Please shout if you don't.
yes.
Does that
So
answer your question, Peter?
yeah, yeah. Um, so last time we were talking about karma, and there's so much to go into.
Yeah.
And why don't we just try to like go a little bit deeper into things you were talking about regarding karma? Like for most
Okay.
people, karma may be something that might we think of as connected to luck. Can you talk a little bit about that, David?
Before I talk about karma, let me talk about what life is about, because karma fits into that equation. Essentially, life is an evolutionary experience. If you look around yourself, everything in nature has a reason, a meaning, is part of a system. Even the things that we have not yet realized are parts of systems. Slowly, we come to the realization that everything has a meaning and a reason behind it. And life must also have a reason. Nothing in the cosmos is random, um, apparently, although that is a debatable question. Um, there is an equation that governs life, and it is birth, life, oblique evolution, death, reincarnation, birth. And that kind of validates the reason for us all being here. There's got to be more to life than just one lifetime, a random set of experiences that are essentially wasted. And I mean, we're all here living our lives. If we are only here for this lifetime, quite frankly, we're wasting our time. These experiences, they're not going to benefit us in any way. I mean, they might make this lifetime a better experience, but that's as far as it goes. Life has a more profound, must have a more profound meaning than that. And the reason behind life is evolution. We are here to evolve. Now, evolution happens in all sorts of forms. Just reading a book and gaining knowledge, that is a evolution on a small scale. For evolution to happen big time, essentially one needs to meditate, because meditation produces increased consciousness. And if you are practicing a technique that gives you experience of increased consciousness, and that increased consciousness is integrated into your day-to-day functioning, that is evolution. And it is evolution in the fast lane. There is nothing faster. Every form of yoga is essentially karma yoga. So we look at life, and there does seem to be a random element in life, and that random element is called luck. But sorry, once again, that nothing is random. Luck has a reason and a meaning as much as anything, and the translation of luck, giving it the meaning, is karma. In every lifetime, we function, we carry out actions, and those actions produce vibrations that travel outwards from us, and eventually they hit something and they come back. That means that we can be experiencing karma in this lifetime that we generated hundreds of years ago, in many in incarnation that happened years and years and years ago. The one thing that there really isn't in life is instant karma. In certain situations, you can produce instant karma. For example, if you use heavy drugs, the karma can be fairly instant. But generally, karma is something that we've accumulated over hundreds and hundreds of years. We've been here many, many times before. That, if you look at people, there are people around us, some of whom are almost saints, and some of whom are barely much above animals. What is it that dictates that variety of human, as it were, spirit? It must be karma. The highly evolved people, they've been reincarnated many, many times. They've been through this experience over and over and over again, building up consciousness, building up knowledge, building up understanding. And the people at lower levels, they are newer souls. They are newer souls who have not had the opportunity yet to pass through this learning, vast learning experience. And you know, that once again, that explains a great deal about what life is and why everything is as it is. What else do I need to say about karma here? Karma, as we function in life, if we are meditating, if we are producing increased consciousness on a daily basis, if we are integrating that increased consciousness into our day-to-day functioning, slowly our actions become purer, more focused, more positively supportive to cosmic law, as it were, and all of that has an effect on the way karma operates within our lives. You may have wondered why it is that some people are born into what seem like very luxurious situations, and some people are born into really bad situations. And that is also a product of karma. The karma that we have built up seems to decide, once we've passed beyond this life, there seems to be a function which decides where we're born in the next incarnation and what lessons we are going to be learned. It's a case of, you're in this classroom this time around, and you're going to learn these lessons. Now, being born into perhaps a wealthy family, that is not necessarily good karma. I mean, as we know, money doesn't produce happiness. Happiness comes from somewhere else. What that situation does is it provides you with a set of parameters within which you are intended to learn certain lessons, and the lessons are infinite. I mean, according to Indian philosophy, to become enlightened, you have to experience everything that life has to offer. That is why, essentially, I keep saying we've all experienced lots and lots of incarnations, and probably nearly all of us have got quite a few to go, me included. Anything else I need to say there, Peter? Have I covered?
Well, I'm wondering, is there something special happening globally in the world in regard to karma?
Oh, yes, of course. Right. Everything has karma, the world included. And what's happened is, well, after each meditation, I write a letter, an after-party letter. And I've recently been talking about what's been happening in the heavens. It seems that astrology has some effect on what happens in the world. It is a matter of the macrocosm and the microcosm. The microcosm being the world and the macrocosm being the astrological aspects. And as the, I don't really know what I was going to say here, unfortunately. Let me think about this. Astrologically, we've been through 2,000 years of not very good karma. The world has been through 2,000 years of not very good karma. It's coincidental that 2,000 years started with the birth of Christianity. Purely coincidental. I'm sure the Catholic Church would agree with me there. However, we have now passed out of that period. We are truly in the age of Aquarius, and you can see the onset of the coming of the age of Aquarius in the fact that there have been no major wars for over 50 years. In that time, we have had an opportunity to grow as individuals and collectively. And what is happening at the moment is we are seeing that growth reflected in a massive increase in global consciousness. You can see it tremendously on Facebook. There are so many elevated people talking about God and reflecting spiritual precepts that were almost inconceivable when I was a child. I mean, when I was a child, there was Christianity and that was it. Now there is something much bigger, and I believe that is a reflection of the coming of the age of Aquarius. We are truly in the age of Aquarius now. It is just a matter of the age reaching maturity, and that maturity depends on how we function, what we do, how we utilize and focus the positive influences that this age offers us. There is a lot of activity, not very good activity, happening in Ukraine at the moment, and that is a reflection of Mars being in the Cardinal Grand Cross, which took place a couple of weeks ago. However, Mars is a fast-moving planet comparatively, and it is moving out of the Grand Cross. It's been retrograde since March and is now about to go direct. A retrograde planet produces confusion. And look at the Ukraine. Look at the confusion there's been. There's been confusion amongst the pro-Russian demonstrators, and there's been tremendous confusion amongst the temporary government in Kiev. When Mars goes direct, that confusion should decrease. However, Mars is a planet that presages war, except At the moment, Mars is in Libra. Mars actually belongs to Aries, which is a very warlike sun sign anyway. Excuse me. And the effect of being in Libra, it mitigates Mars's aggressive influences. I think that over the next short while, you will see that Mars is actually producing an influence that tends towards negotiation, consideration, negotiation, and conciliation. And I think that in the Ukraine, you will find that there will starts to be talks about what to do about the situation in the east of the country. That is the influence of Mars. Mars is also very influenced by Venus, which is actually, where is Venus, Ingrid? Venus is in Aries. So the Aryan influence that would normally be active on Mars is being mitigated by Venus. So once again, that is a conciliatory, and Venus is the planet that produces, excuse me, love. And that influence is also mitigating the effect of Mars. This is very, very interesting at the moment. There is such a lot going on in the heavens. And although I have very little time for personal astrology, I mean, horoscopes are just one of the most there's a word. Horoscopes really, personal horoscopes really don't, really don't work. They really have very little to say. Personal astrology works okay provided there aren't astrologers involved, but there are always astrologers involved. What you have to do if you're going to do personal astrology is look at influences of planets over a long time period. However, global astrology seems to have a very, very clear effect. I've been looking at this for nearly my whole life, and I am convinced that what happens in the heavens does presage what's happening on Earth. Any more I can say, Peter?
Yeah, I'm wondering, does our consciousness, as you have, like in terms of like understanding what is going on in the heavens, does having a consciousness of that, how does that have an effect here on Earth? Like, is there a reciprocal effect that happens by being conscious of what's happening in the heavens?
Yes, of course there is. If you look at quantum physics, it seems that reality is just a dream we're all sharing. There is no substance to reality. This is just a dream we all agree on tacitly. However, what we dream becomes what is. There is a very interesting technique for creating your own reality. And it is to have a dream, but divorce yourself completely from the fulfillment of that dream. Now, that is very difficult to do. If you want something really badly, it's very hard to be completely divorced from the fulfillment of that dream. However, in my own experience, and this is in my own experience, this works. I had a dream. I was married, I had 2 kids and a great big mortgage. And I had a dream I wanted to not work. I wanted to write about consciousness. However, that dream was impossible under those circumstances to achieve. And that impossibility made me, really did divorce me from the fulfillment of the dream. And here I am. I haven't worked for 30 years and I write about consciousness. I mean, that is creating your own reality. This is a difficult thing to understand, and it's an even more difficult thing to do but I'll tell you who gives you this technique. Deepak Chopra. In one of Deepak Chopra's books, and I can't think which one it is, he talks about how to make this happen. And I actually read that book and really just thought, well, I've got this dream, but I knew I could never, ever achieve that dream. I mean, as I said, I had 2 kids, a wife and a mortgage. However, one way or another, I did achieve it. And I did create my own reality. I am convinced that technique was used to create my own reality. So, you asked, does what we think have an effect on what happens with the heavens? Yes, of course it does. We create reality if we are thinking positive things. Positive things will happen. If enough of us are thinking the same positive thing at the same time, that is coherence. That is coherence of thought, and that will make things happen. Okay, any more, Peter?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting, and I think for maybe some people, maybe a lot of people, it's hard to wrap their heads around that idea that we create our own reality, and that those coherence of thoughts, such as love, um, have a real effect in the world.
I
Um,
mentioned the quantum physics article that talks specifically about that, and it explains it. It explains it at some length, but it does explain it. I mean, it really is. It's very clear from quantum physics that we are all connected. We are all part of one thing. I wouldn't like to define what that one thing is, but we are all part of one thing, and we are all connected on the level of consciousness. I mean, we must be connected on the level of consciousness because we are all creating this reality. This reality, although it has its variations for each of us, in general, it's a common reality. And we must all be participating in the creation of that reality.
yes. Well, it's an interesting thing globally in terms of numbers of brains, or as you're saying, neurons within the global brain, and the number of neurons within each of our individual brains. There's some sort of correspondence there, and also
Yes.
the technology that we are currently using at this very moment for this broadcast, the internet, Facebook. There's some sort of curious alignment of those things going on now at this time in the world in the dawn of the age of Aquarius.
Right.
And
It is said that the population of the world is just coming up to an equivalent level with the number of neurons in the human brain. Now, I kind of figure when the population gets to that level, something fairly big is going to happen, and I think it is going to be the creation of a new world, as it were, a new form of reality. And I think that in that reality, things will be as we really want them to be. Injustice will not happen anymore. Poverty will not be around. People will not be starving. The world will function in the way we would wish it to function. And indeed, when you look at people in the world, most of us, we all want the same thing. We all want the world to be a nice place to live, not too much crime, ideally no crime, economically stable, no poverty, no wars. We're a long way from that now. But look at what's happened since the end of the Second World War, and the changes have been tremendous. I mean, following the late 1960s, there have been immense changes in the way we perceive reality and the way we conceive reality. Just innumerable changes. So yes, it really does have an effect.
Yes, yeah, I think it could be very clear to everybody that's aware of and looks at a perspective of history, the rapidity and pace in which changes have been happening, and the exponential growth of those changes. And I think if you look at the rise of the consciousness of consciousness is so rapid, and it almost seems like we cannot even predict what will happen in the next few years because it's not linear, the evolution.
Right.
Um,
Let me tell you a story. In 1964, I mean, I'm much older than you and much older than a lot of people here. So I've actually seen these changes happen. In 1964, I walked down Charing Cross Road, which is a road in London full of bookshops. Foyle's bookshop is down Charing Cross Road. And I was looking for a book on yoga. And I could not find a single book on yoga. The most closest they could offer me was a book on yogurt. Um, 1967, every bookshop was overflowing with books about Buddhism, yoga, spirituality. It was an incredible change. And that change was a precursor, a dramatic precursor to changes in social mores that have been happening ever since. And the almost not the end result, but one of the end results of that is the increase in consciousness that the globe is going through, that we as individuals are going through. And we are the individuals who make up this world. The change in consciousness that we're going through and the whole world is going through is a reflection of that change. Sorry, back to you.
yeah, we should wrap up soon, but I wanted to see if you could address this concept within the notion of karma, and that's about free will. What is how does free will fit into karma?
Free will is what creates karma. The thing that differentiates human beings from most other sentient beings is the fact that we have free will. I mean, maybe there are other creatures that have an element of free will. Most entities in nature respond to natural laws. We have the choice, and it is that choice that creates karma. We can make good choices, we can make bad choices. Bad choices actually are not that bad. They actually usually teach us a lot more than the good choices. But without free will, there is no karma. If we didn't have free will, we would be, as animals are, functioning according to the basic cosmic laws, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting, and as you talking about how that the difference between, say, animals or any other living things and this thing that we are, the manifestation of a certain type of manifestation of consciousness that permeates.
It's very difficult to say what. I mean, what we have communication, so we can talk about this thing, but it's very difficult to say what constitutes consciousness in, say, dolphins or whales, because we can't communicate with them. They might be able to communicate amongst themselves, but we certainly can't actually get any kind of feel for what consciousness for them is. It could be that dolphins have a higher level of consciousness than we do, for example. However, it is very clear that we are one of the most elevated species within the cosmic picture. And the fact that we can communicate says so much, sorry, no pun intended, says so much about what we are in consciousness terms. There is a very interesting bit in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna and Arjuna are standing in Arjuna's chariot overlooking the battlefield. And Arjuna's army is about to go into battle with his own kinfolk, his own cousins and uncles. And Arjuna is regretting that he's about to slaughter his kinfolk. And Krishna says, no, 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 that is a mistake of the intellect. What in fact you're doing is they're just kinfolk in this incarnation, essentially. And I maintain that everything, including the intellect, is a mistake of the intellect. The trouble with us is we think too much. We analyze too much. We cannot actually get away from the conceptualizations that thought provides us with, and the impulse to communicate those conceptualizations. They are conceptualizations that have destroyed the world. I mean, look at religions. The religions are just conceptualizations. They have nothing to do with spirituality. I maintain religions are the last refuge of the spiritually bankrupt. When you don't have real spirituality, and spirituality is something that grows in not only the head but in the heart. Spirituality emanates from the heart. Spirituality is largely about love. And when you don't have spirituality, of course, you need religions to kind of lead you in that direction. Not that actually religions do that, but that's essentially what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to lead you back to spirituality. The word religion comes from the Latin dirigere, which is to pull you back, and it refers to pulling you back to true spirituality. True spirituality does not happen through religion, or belief systems generally. True spirituality happens through consciousness, only consciousness. Only through developing consciousness do you develop the spirituality that is integrated into your persona, that manifests itself as compassion, understanding, love for humanity, love for the world, and a celebration of life. And you know, let's be clear here, every one of us should be celebrating our lives because we're having a wonderful experience. We're having a glorious experience. We are being given an opportunity to evolve. And what could be better than that? Okay, I think I've done for today.
Yeah, I have to say, sorry to say that we'll have to end it here. It's been wonderful talking with you, David, and so I encourage everybody to join us next week at the same time here.
And please come up with questions.
Absolutely.
If you ask questions, we really will try and answer them.
We'll try our best to answer them, or at least go into the question.
Yeah.
And you can actually post them on our event page, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yep,
also, I'd like to encourage everybody to join us on the global meditation tomorrow morning. Morning, 11 a.m. UK time, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. And we also post the time zone chart, so wherever you are in the globe, join us in the source.
And indeed, if you join us, you should experience the coherence that we generate as a more powerful meditation experience. That is what most people experience. That is what I experience. as a participant. So thank you, everybody. We hope you enjoyed what you heard. We hope you didn't find it too confusing. I certainly found it very, very confusing, but that's just me.
Okay, thank you very much, David, and good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Peter. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.